On March 26, 2026, the cherry trees surrounding Washington, D.C.'s tidal basin reached their peak bloom. The flowers arrived 3 full days before the earliest edge of the National Park Service's predicted window. That early arrival marked a highly specific milestone. It was the 7th consecutive year that the blossoms peaked before April 1st. That modern disruption to the calendar threatens a century-old diplomatic gift from Japan that has evolved into an economic engine. The National Cherry Blossom Festival now draws roughly 1.6 million visitors who generate over $200 million in spending in a matter of weeks. But those trees are currently enduring a severe physical crisis driven by 2 entirely different environments. The tidal basin is trapped in a literal squeeze. The trees are being attacked by accelerating atmospheric heat from above, while simultaneously sinking into rising tidal floodwaters from below. To understand the threat from above, we have to look at phenology. Phenology is the study of how climatic changes dictate the timing of biological events in plants and animals. For a cherry tree, temperature, rather than the calendar, acts as the master clock. The process relies on a precise 2-phase mechanism. First, dormant winter buds require a chill phase, roughly a month of temperatures below 41 degrees, just to properly wake up. Once dormancy breaks, the spring forcing phase begins, where accumulated warm temperatures physically push the buds open. Local meteorological data reveals a stark shift in that temperature curve. Washington, D.C. is currently warming at a rate of 1.6 degrees Celsius per century. That is double the global average. This chart shows the timeline of peak bloom dates extending from 1921 to 2026. The data traces a distinct downward trend, pulling the historical average from early April down into late March. Under higher emission models, projections indicate peak bloom could shift another 13 to 29 days earlier by the 2080s. This schedule shift triggers a phenological mismatch. A mismatch occurs when blossoms open before local pollinators are mature enough to interact with them. This heat-driven biological hack decouples the flowers from the insects they rely on. By severing that connection, the warming climate directly threatens the tree's long-term reproductive survival. Beneath the branches, a secondary threat is attacking the root systems. The tidal basin is a fragile, man-made reservoir constructed in the late 19th century by dredging sediment to fill in a swampy marshland. That foundation is yielding to a dual geological crisis. Post-glacial subsidence is causing the reclaimed land to physically sink. At the same time, climate change has driven local sea levels up by more than a foot over the last century. Pressed by these combined forces, portions of the basin's original seawall have settled by as much as 5 feet. This allows brackish water from the Potomac River to regularly breach the perimeter during the normal high tides. The physical toll of this flooding was most visible in Stumpy, a famous heavily rotted Yoshino cherry tree. Daily floods submerged its base, poisoning the surrounding soil with salt and hollowing out the wood from the inside. To prevent the remaining trees from drowning, the National Park Service initiated a historic $113 million seawall restoration project. The engineering relies on a permanent structural fix. Construction crews are driving nearly 700 pilings deep through the soft, reclaimed mud until they hit solid bedrock. This creates a platform foundation that cannot sink. The new seawall is elevated to 5.5 feet along the park edge, securing the basin's perimeter against projected sea level rise for the next 100 years. We can successfully engineer a massive concrete shield to hold back the rising ocean. But that wall does absolutely nothing to block the accelerating temperatures hacking the trees from above. The hard climate data brings us back to the cultural origins of the trees and the Japanese concept of mono no aware. Mono no aware is a philosophical sensibility that translates roughly to the bittersweet awareness of impermanence. It suggests that true beauty is profoundly intensified precisely because it is fleeting and fragile. There is a profound historical irony in the current crisis. Human-driven climate change is making America's greatest natural monument to impermanence literally more impermanent. In 1912, the original trees were planted as a straightforward symbol of diplomatic friendship. Today, the 125 surviving originals serve as a stark, living dataset of environmental instability. The increasingly early, fleeting blooms of the tidal basin prove that we do not need to look at melting ice caps to to witness the climate crisis. It is visibly ticking away in the changing rhythms of our own backyards.